Welcome to Richplanet TV. I'm Richard D. Hall. Has your partner just stormed off in the huff because you are watching Richplanet again? Fear not, you are not alone in experiencing this phenomenon. And don't be controlled by emotional blackmail either. It's not big and it's not clever, so close the door and I'll begin. Our mainstream media bullshit meter has been under serious stress recently, starting with the alleged failings in security at the Olympics. This story actually broke in the alternative media on the Tony Gosling show, with a supposed undercover journalist expressing doubts about the company G4S, who have been awarded contracts for the security during the Olympic Games. The whistleblower expressed concerns about private companies being used for security at the Olympics and reported failings in training procedures and other practices he observed while working for G4S. Well, excuse me if I don't get on that bandwagon of utter cack and instead take a step back and consider just what is really going on here. Are we really saying that the sports contests consisting of 35 different sports and over 400 sporting events should be protected using body scanners, strip searches and militaristic style protection? That would be practically impossible. This failings of Olympic security rubbish is pure psychological manipulation, and Tony Gosling ought to think twice before promoting such psychological manipulation on his radio show. They poisoned the alternative media with this pap before proceeding to get it on Sky News and the rest of the brainless, non-critically analysing mainstream media. The psychological manipulation is quite straightforward. These stories plant the seed in people's minds that a terrorist or similar attack, if attempted, is likely to succeed on a large scale due to failings in security. So when it actually happens, people are more likely to accept the fake event. Either that or it is an excuse to get people to accept the army being on the streets instead of G4S, but probably both. Open your eyes, people. The activities of the RAF to protect airspace over London is also pure psychological manipulation, making people think that there is a real threat from terrorists. Like on 9/11, It is utter bunk. 9/11 was utter bunk and 7/7 was utter bunk, organised and carried out by Western intelligence agencies. And they are using the fake history of 9/11 and 7/7 to solidify fake threats of terrorism at this time during the Olympics. What use is an aircraft carrier against terrorists inside the Olympic Stadium? Put that bomb down or we will ram you with our aircraft carrier. It is all for show and serves to manipulate the minds of the masses. The question which begs to be asked, however, is what is the fake event they are planning and who will they blame it on? Well, the prime candidate for blame is, of course, Iran, a country that the US has been closing in on for some time. Iran is now surrounded by Western military on all sides, Syria being the last domino to fall before Iran is completely isolated. As we approach the Olympics, mainstream media have been ramping up the anti-Iranian propaganda, showing images of Iran's missiles, cementing in our minds that Iran is some kind of threat. Well, excuse me if I don't get on that bandwagon of cack either. At this juncture, we must give a passing mention to the fake alien invasion theory, originally put forward by Ian R. Crane in 2007. The Daily Mail recently featured an article reporting that an ex-CIA agent claimed to have seen secret documents confirming that the 1947 Roswell UFO incident was real and involved real aliens. This is not really news because several people have made this claim in the past, but have never been treated seriously by the likes of the Daily Mail. The point worthy of note here is that this story was treated 100% seriously by the Daily Mail. Why the sudden change of attitude towards the UFO subject? Is this yet more psychological manipulation pointing to a fake alien invasion? I wouldn't like to say. One regular Richplanet viewer said in his email, "I do feel so much conspiratorial attention is upon it now," meaning the Olympics, "that it may be a distraction for something else." And by the way, what the has happened to our weather this summer? I have never known so much rain. The wildlife in my garden doesn't know whether to emigrate, hibernate, pupate, gestate or copulate. Even non-conspiracy minded people are saying, "Is somebody messing with the weather?" For the record, I am recording this on Saturday the 14th of July 2012 at 2:30 p.m. It will air for the first time on TV on Friday the 27th of July at 8 p.m, immediately before the Olympic opening ceremony, which starts at 9 p.m. I'm going to bring to your attention some mainstream newspaper front pages which have appeared over recent weeks. Here's the first from the 14th of June. On this front page, the large text is a separate story from the photograph of the Queen. The thing to point out here is that the accompanying text is what I would call a nothing story, meaning it is not really of any great importance in terms of news. So it could have been put there purely to plant the word kill next to the image of the Queen. Here is another one from the same day. The second story I'd like to point out was on the 5th of July. Again, the story containing the word handcuff is a nothing story and may have been put there purely to put the word handcuff next to the image of Kate, showing her with her hands held as if being handcuffed. So what am I saying here? Well, the first thing to point out is that your subconscious mind takes on board information and remembers it, which your conscious mind doesn't see. It's a bit like auto-suggestion. If I plant something in your mind by embedding it in certain parts of a conversation, it could influence the decision that you make in future without you even realizing it. These headlines may be doing something similar. Let's just say that Kate Middleton does get kidnapped. You would more readily accept this as being true if you have had a suggestion of her being handcuffed put into your subconscious mind without you even knowing it. So are these headlines intended to program the general public with information so they more willingly accept an event involving an attack on the royal family in the future? Are the people devising these headlines being directed by a group that will stage a fake attack on the Queen and on the royal family? One thing is for sure, any attack on the Queen, i.e. the head of state, would provide total justification to go after the group blamed for the attack. And what a great way to pull on the heartstrings of the nation to orchestrate a fake abduction of our beloved princess. And what about Prince William? Well, there's been so much propaganda put out about Prince William being the perfect candidate for king. My sick bucket is practically overflowing. One can't help think that the way is being paved, or in his case, carpeted, for William to become king next, perhaps before 2012 is out. What better way to catapult the new young king to power than with a psychological operation where he saves the day and thwarts an attack on the royals? Sounds far-fetched? Perhaps. My observation of what is being played out may turn out to be incorrect. I may be reading too much into things here. After all, nobody can really predict the future. But as I've said in the past, you won't catch me at the Olympics. The opening ceremony will include, inside the Olympic Stadium, a mock-up of English rural life, including 12 horses, 3 cows, 2 goats, 10 chickens, 10 ducks, 9 geese, 70 sheep and 3 sheepdogs. A few weeks ago they unveiled a scale model of the set. I thought it was an old set from Michael Bentine's Potty Time, which was a great show. For those who don't remember it, here's a quick clip.
I'm trying to do a report on the Khyber Pass.
Oh, first class. You couldn't have come to a better place.
Why is that, sir?
Well, I mean, this is the Khyber Pass.
Colonel
Potterton. Colonel Potterton.
Yes.
Known all over the northwest frontier as Potty Potterton.
Yes, I'm sure. Who exactly are you fighting, sir?
Who are we fighting? Did you hear that, Subadar Major? Who are we fighting? Why did, sir, Colonel? Oh, that's very, very highly fun-making. Who are we fighting?
Yes. Who exactly
Did you
are
hear
you
that,
fighting?
Guru? Oh, jolly good. Who are we fighting? Did you hear that, Max? He said, who are we fighting?
Yes.
Who are we fighting?
Very good. Yes, I'm sure.
Very good.
Yes. Who exactly are you fighting?
Yes, indeed. Who are we fighting, sir? This is a very good question, of course. Who are we fighting? We come on now to the arrest and imprisonment of Roger Hayes, who I met in Newcastle in 2009. For those who don't know who Roger is, he is the chairman of the British Constitutional Group and over recent years has been exposing the erosion of common law in British courts in favour of statute law, and in March 2011 he was involved in civilly arresting a judge in Birkenhead for acting unlawfully. He has also been promoting the lawful bank and an alternative monetary system which could replace the fraudulent fractional reserve banking system currently in place in most Western economies. He was arrested on Monday the 2nd of July at 9:30 a.m. 2 police cars and 4 policemen from Merseyside Police turned up at his Wirral home and whisked him away. The first his family heard of him was at 6:30 that evening via telephone call from a warder in Liverpool prison. They said that Roger had been tried and sentenced to prison. At no time were the family or any other members of the public informed of his arrest, and it is understood that he was tried in a secret court without a jury. He was denied the right to argue his case, denied the right to a jury, and denied the right for the public to see justice being done. Roger's crime is that he has withheld payment of council tax because, along with other state taxes, a proportion of the tax revenue gathered is being sent to the European Union, used to fund unlawful wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya and Syria, and promote terrorism right around the world. Therefore, to pay these taxes under such circumstances is, at the very least, unlawful under Section 15 in brackets 3 of the Terrorism Act 2000. The alternative monetary system that he promotes has been developed to counter the destructive modern-day banking system that is the sole cause of the massive debt mountains that are now the burden of virtually every nation on this planet. It is his contention that people should be educated to the fact that the national debt would not exist if the creation of money was directly controlled by our elected governments, and that also, if this were the case, the taxes we would pay would be dramatically reduced. I couldn't agree more. This system provides the means by which national debt mountains can be extinguished for the universal benefit of us all, by creating streams of positive financial liquidity in the hands of the people, instead of the streams of negative debt that have been placed on the shoulders of national governments, and which are being paid for by ever-increasing taxes. It is a statement of fact that these debt mountains were entirely unnecessary and exist simply because the political elite in national governments have been persuaded, some would say bribed, to hand over the control of their nation's money to the international banking cartel. The benefits of the alternative monetary system will offer interest-free loans for home purchases subject to an arrangement fee only, interest-free loans to businesses subject to arrangement fee only, interest-free loans for car and other household goods subject to arrangement fee only, and interest-free funds for community projects subject to arrangement fee only, a large network of community branches, a positive credit system. For every £1 deposited, each member creates £10 credit in their account. This credit, created by the system on the back of the cash deposited, is the property of the member and thus not a debt to the member. This provides streams of credit to the system, not debt. Now, if you are sitting thinking that would never work, I can inform you that the reason you sit there thinking that is because you have been so successfully and comprehensively brainwashed you are unable to step out of the paradigm in which your switched-off mind is firmly entrenched. Interest-free economies can work and do work. Governments borrowing money from outside entities is a contradiction in terms. The bank, in a game of Monopoly, does not borrow money from anyone. The buck stops with the bank, which is the source of all new money. And in the same way, in real life, the buck should stop with the government, which should be the source of all new money. Hence, the government being in debt is a contradiction in terms. The current system is a con. Wake up out of your slumber. Now, on the day of recording this, the 14th of July 2012, Roger Hayes is still in prison and has received a large number of supporting letters. I personally find it more than a coincidence that he was locked up on the 2nd of July, around the same time that the alleged banking interest fixing scandal broke, which is yet another fake smokescreen scandal to make people think something is being done about the fraudulent banking system, when in actual fact there is no intention to change the banking system. Even if you sack all the bankers, that does not change the fraudulent fractional reserve system, which Roger Hayes is seeking to replace. He seeks to change the system, not necessarily the personnel, which is why he is a threat. This period of this so-called banking scandal would have been an excellent time for Roger Hayes to have explained and promoted the solution to the fraudulent banking system to the mainstream media, but he got locked up without a jury just as the story was hitting the headlines. Well, well, well. You can find out more about Roger Hayes from the following links. On with the show. After the break, I will be screening an interview that I recorded with Sam and Jean Wright at the Probe UK UFO conference held twice a year in Lytham St Anne's. Now, Jean Wright unfortunately passed away last year. I didn't air this interview at the time because there was a slight problem with the sound. Now, the conference is still going on and the memory of Jean is very much with us. She was a wonderful lady, and I would like to wish Sam all the best with his future conferences.